Our next question is Greg Brown.
Greg Brown from The Australian. Mr Bowen, Labor's pre-election modelling assumes electric vehicles will account for 89% of new car sales by 2030, well above the former government's prediction based on their policies on 29%. Now, experts, including the Grattan Institute, say they can't see how this will be achieved based on Labor's already announced policy initiatives, which you went through today, noting that free trade deals do make the tariff exemption largely redundant. So what is the assumption behind the massive growth in EV sales under Labor? And will the government need new policies in this space, such as vehicle emission standards, to make the 89% prediction a reality?
Thanks, Greg. But to be clear, the assumptions in the modelling are just that. They're assumptions. They're not policy decisions in relation to those figures. So we didn't have a target of meeting any particular EV rate. So that's not a policy decision. That's what the modellers have worked through. Some of that will be natural increases. Other of it will be as a result of policies. But we're very committed to increasing the penetration of electric vehicles and increasing the penetration of electric vehicles at an affordable rate. And there'll be a lot of flow-through impacts of our policies that we've already implemented, in the process of implementing and have announced. For example, one example, our commitment to take the Commonwealth fleet to, in the first instance, 75% no emissions. Very important. One, because the Commonwealth's a big fleet, 10,000 cars. But secondly, the Commonwealth turns over its cars every 3 years. That leads into the second-hand market. At the moment, you can't buy a second-hand electric car in Australia. And as we all know, if you really want an affordable car, it's almost certainly a second-hand car. So if you're in the market, if you're in the place of the market, as many young people are, for example, buying their first car, they'd love an EV. But you can't get one second-hand. When the Commonwealth fleet starts to roll through and we have the Commonwealth disposing of its electric vehicles in 3 years after they've been purchased, you start to get a second-hand market. Same with private fleets. Our FBT discount and our tariff discount has its biggest impact, I'm happy to concede, on fleets. Again, big proportion of car sales in Australia are fleet, but again, they turn over, depending on the company, every 2, 3 or 4 years, flow through to second-hand. So there's a lot to do. And yes, in relation to the second part of your question, we have an electric vehicle strategy, which we will now develop in office, as we said we would from opposition, and we'll consider further policy options to add to and build on what we've already committed to.
So vehicle emission standards, are they on the table as we move forward?
We will consider all viable options to build on the policy announcements we've already made and are implementing.